Welcome once again to the latest edition of Shelf Life Book Reviews online. As always, I do thank you for taking the time to watch my videos, which hopefully you do find informative. And when you go to your local bookstore, you seriously consider the book that I'm about to review for you today. And the book is The Ghosts That Haunt Me, Memories of a Homicide Detective by Steve Ryan. This is published by Dundurn Books, and it retails for $22.99. Steve Ryan was in the policing business for 3 decades. He was a regular police officer, then he went to the homicide division, which is, I'm sure, not the most pleasant, especially when you deal with finding bodies. And in this book, he talks about his life as a homicide detective, and he relates 6 of the classic cases that he dealt with. I'm sure there were dozens and dozens more, but he has selected 6 most interesting cases. So if you are a fan of true crime, this book definitely is for you. It's a graphic in spots, but there's no way to sugarcoat death. And when he dealt with these 6 cases, he definitely dealt with stomach-churning scenarios and scenes. Now, he did say when he first began, he almost wanted to leave the homicide division because it really was hard when you're not used to that part of the policing. I'm sure it was very intimidating, but he knew he had to stay with that division. In a way, as he writes in the book, it is really in honor of those who were killed and those who were left behind that he wanted to see that justice was served. And in the 6 cases that he does talk about, there are some very interesting ones. One of them is called Stephanie Rangel, Trapped Between 2 Monsters. Stephanie Rangel was, I believe, 14 years old, and she had split up with her boyfriend. Her parents, coincidentally, were police officers, and she was a good girl. She never got into trouble, but the ex-boyfriend contacted her. It was New Year's Day that he, wanted to talk to her. So what happened was he took a knife from his parents' kitchen, and he went and he stabbed her right practically in front of her house. And he went and he threw the bloodied knife into someone's backyard. Now, since it was New Year's Day, there was snow on the ground, so they didn't know where the knife was. So the detective, the homicide detective, Steve Ryan, he was on the case. And he, the main thing was finding the knife, because that was evidence, but they had to wait for the snow to go. And there was a January thaw, and he started going in the backyard, and he found the knife. Now, the suspect, they immediately suspected the former boyfriend, but it seemed that the former boyfriend's current girlfriend sort of put him up, to killing Stephanie, because she was jealous of her, that I guess maybe thinking that he might eventually go back with her. So she pretty well ordered him, to kill young Stephanie. And Steve Ryan was on the case. He, saw it through to its conclusion. Both of them were charged. They were young offenders, but they were still charged with the murder, and they're still in custody to this very day. Another interesting case was Melanie Biedersing, Cold Case House of Horrors. Now, she was a young child that lived with her father and stepmother. She came from Jamaica. Her biological mother basically let her go to Canada with the father. The father wasn't the best man, but she thought he was changing. Well, he definitely did not change, and he lived with this other woman, and Melanie was really a victim of their hatred and callousness. They starved her, they beat her, and her brother actually fell. Her brother was 13 years old, and he fell from the balcony of the building, and they thought it was suicide. But in retrospect, obviously, the father and the stepmother were behind that as well. Now, Melanie's body was found in a suitcase. It was burned, and they didn't know at first who the body belonged to, who the victim was. And once all the pieces of the puzzle started fitting into place, Steve Ryan went to Jamaica to get the DNA of the mother, just to make sure that this, that the body in the burned suitcase was actually the daughter Melanie. So it was heartbreaking, that this poor child had to suffer. She was put inside a closet, and horrible things were done to her. So it's let's just say the book is definitely one with a lot of horrible images. And there are other cases of a young child that was also, pretty well starved to death. She was found in a room in her apartment. And let's just say, if you enjoy true crime and have a stomach for visually, can I say disgusting images? This book is definitely one that will fascinate you. Steve Ryan writes with great compassion for the victims. He writes with great heart and soul. So you knew when he was a homicide detective that he cared about every single case that he was on. So this is definitely a tribute to those, who have been victimized and the families left behind. So that is the book I wanted to draw to your attention. The Ghosts That Haunt Me is a haunting work of true crime. So if you do buy it, let me know if you agree with my book review. So thank you for watching the video. I will be back very soon. Until then, stay safe, stay sane, and I will see you at the bookstore. Bye for now.